So, Brittany Herring. I'm sure you guys have already heard about her and the whole Facebook Live case, but I'm going to talk about this case right now and how I personally feel about it. Now, before we start, I just want to let you guys know that I really don't have a political party that I assign myself with. I don't necessarily agree with like a certain party, but let's just begin, okay? So, um, so the people involved obviously were Brittany Herring, or her last name was also Covington. So Brittany Covington, she was 18. Tesfaye Cooper, 18. Jordan Hill, the victim's friend, 18. And Tanisha Covington's Brittany's sister, 24. Brittany Covington was from Chicago. Tesfaye was from Chicago. Tanisha Covington of Chicago, and Jordan Hill of Carpentersville. So, I'm sure this case has already been broadcasted all over. It's been going viral, and I'm sure everyone already knows what's been going on. I was gonna make the video yesterday about what happened. However, the court, everything was going on yesterday, like the crimes and everything like that were happening at Chicago court yesterday, so Friday, as that would be. And so I wanted to wait until I heard all the news and what I personally felt on this and how everything was handled. So I'll go into a little detail of what happened, and then I'll explain the crimes of what happened, and we'll go into a little more of everything. So there was a victim, we'll call him, this 18-year-old teenager, from Illinois, and he was friends with this Jordan Hill from Illinois, and he had disabilities. On December 31st, he was gonna go to his friend's house for a couple days, and he was gonna sleep over there, but while he was there. I'm sorry about that. They got into a little argument, and Jordan Hill pretty much kidnapped him, and they drove to Chicago where Brittany Covington lived, and that's where they tied him up and started to torture him. Now, I don't understand the mindset and this act that they just did, but broadcasting it on Facebook Live is what really blew my mind. There's no sympathy there. Like, what were they thinking of, one, incriminating themselves by giving evidence that they were committing this crime, that they were kidnapping this kid, this poor disability, this kid that has disabilities. I don't understand what they were thinking. But they put it on Facebook Live, and it's now easy to track down who these criminals were. And I personally never thought it was because he was a Trump supporter, as media kept saying it. It was never really proven. They don't have evidence that this 18-year-old really was a Trump supporter. He was never like an advocate for Trump. There's no evidence that supports that claim. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. We don't really know. But that's besides the fact. The fact is that during this crime that they were committing, torturing him, stabbing him, because they sliced his head open and everything like that. They scalped him. They didn't really scalp him, but you know what I mean. Like they sliced his head. But all these acts and just wrongdoings, it makes no sense to me. But thankfully they did record it, so But no, it was because he was white. They weren't thinking. They said F Donald Trump, F white people. And I'm just gonna read a little quote from Jonathan Gentry, or Gentry, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but that's besides the fact. So the quote goes as follows. This man had nothing to do with the problems that's going on in this world today, this man being the victim. This man in Chicago was innocent and had a disability, and you pathetic heathens in Chicago found it funny to tie him up, beat, and torture him while recording it to Facebook Live. Now let me say this. If the tables were turned and this happened to you, you would be crying to dried-up Al Sharpton, powerless and spineless group Black Lives Matter, or that confused, biased racist with no spiritual substance, Sean King, on why you were treated this way. This man was innocent and minded his own business, and for you to tie him up and torture him and record it live to Facebook shows the disgusting, devious, sick mindset of you and your upbringing. Then you wonder why America doesn't take you serious when you chant Black Lives Matter. Hell with vile, malicious behavior like this. Why should they? Every single person who took place in this heinous act, I hope it's returned to you in jail. Now, I agree exactly what Jonathan had to say in his quote, mainly because it's true. Why would you, one, record it? That just proves that you are sick-minded. You can't record a crime and expect that you're gonna get away with it. Now, sure enough, they deleted it. But when you post something that disgusting to social media, you torturing a kid, making him drink toilet water, cutting him, punching him, just completely destroying his life. And he was scarred. It was quoted later that while he was in the hospital and he was talking to his family, he was scarred for life. Not necessarily on the outside, but his mind. He was sickened by this, and all he could ask, in quotes and everything from other articles, said all he would be asking was why his friend would do this. He looked up to his friend Jordan Hill. Jordan Hill was idolized by this victim. He was idolized, and all he could ask was why Jordan did this. That is sickening for me to think of, and it should be sickening for everyone else to think of. I'm getting chills right now because of how I feel for this kid that was tortured and everything like that. It's disgusting. But now, what's happening is I'm gonna read the punishments of what happened, or what every finalized punishment that happened after court. And I'm glad that the justice ruled the way he did, because they don't have bond. He declined them bond and bail and everything like that. So let's read their punishments. Brittany Covington, 18, of Chicago, is charged with aggravated kidnapping, hate crime, aggravated unlawful restraint, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and residential burglary. Perfect. She deserves to be in jail. It's great right there. All of these people deserve to be in jail, but especially her for recording this and doing nothing to stop it. Tesfaye Cooper, 18, of Chicago, is charged with aggravated kidnapping, hate crime, aggravated unlawful restraint, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and residential burglary. Jordan Hill, the victim's friend, of Carpentersville, is charged with aggravated kidnapping, hate crime, aggravated unlawful restraint, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, robbery, possession of a stolen motor vehicle, and residential burglary. Tanisha Covington, 24, of Chicago, is charged with aggravated kidnapping, hate crime, aggravated unlawful restraint, and aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. All of these punishments don't cover the fact of what they did to this kid. Sure, they'll be in jail and they deserve to be in jail, but I believe that they deserve to be in jail for their lives. They tortured and scarred this disabled child, this teenager. He was young, he was only 18. So I say child, but he was a teenager, an adult. But he was young, he was disabled, and he was tortured by other adults who should also be charged criminally as an adult rather than a teen. And I believe that is exactly what happened, that they were charged as adults, which is good. They deserved it. I think their sentence should be very long, though. I don't think they should have a short sentence. I believe Brittany Covington could be facing up to 30 years, and I believe that could change. I feel like that should be longer. But I also want to talk about some other things that happened after this, like the Black Lives Matter group and everything like that came up from this. So a quote from a Black Lives Matter person on Twitter wrote, "You're acting like white folks haven't been doing this to people of color throughout history, but now a Caucasian man gets attacked and it's suddenly, voila. You can't pick and choose like that," wrote this user. However, I have a question to him. You can't pick and choose which Black Lives matter and which Black Lives don't matter. If a Black life is taken unjustly, then you should be arguing for that one. rather than for the one that was a criminal and shot by an officer and say he was unarmed and he was innocent. No, it can't work like that. If we are picking and choosing on who we support and why we believe this kid was a victim and everything like that, then you have to choose. You can't choose. You can't choose either. You can't pick and choose which lives matter and which lives don't. Now, I'm a strong advocate for all lives mattering. I believe a black life should not be taken unjustly. I believe a white life should not be taken unjustly. It's not that I don't care. I care immensely, but I'm also a very strong advocate for police lives, mainly because I come from a family of police officers. I'm wearing the necklace. I'll try to show you guys. I'll take it off actually. I'll show you guys right now. Now, it's a badge necklace, okay? It has a lot of meaning to me. It's in the form of a badge, and it's got a Saint Michael on it. I don't know if you guys can see that, but so Saint Michael is on this badge, and if you guys don't know who Saint Michael is, it's the protector of all law enforcement and all that, and the saint that protects all that. And I love it. I certainly love this because I'm a very strong advocate for police officers and their lives. I believe that the officer has the right to protect his or her life, and if they feel that their life is threatened, then they can use force, and I'll always back up the officer. Now, there have been unjust killings where the person was definitely unarmed, but I don't know the whole backstory, and I can't argue for that. But again, that's picking and choosing. There's tons of cases where other black people, and not just black people, but also white people and Latino and Mexican and a bunch of other people are killed, but nothing comes up of it. Not one article. Nothing. Why? Because it won't pick up news. No one will listen to it unless they have a story, unless they believe that they can persuade the majority into thinking that their article is correct, which is completely wrong, and that's why I don't trust the media. The media was saying that the officers were hesitant at calling this a hate crime, but no, it wasn't. They weren't hesitant. The officers, right from the get-go, wanted this to be a hate crime because they said F white people. They brought race into this. I don't understand it, but it's wrong. It's really wrong what these kids did. But these, not kids, I don't know why I keep saying kids. It's what these adults did. They tortured a disabled adult. And I don't understand what they were thinking. It's completely wrong. And listen, I have a friend that said this Trump supporter who was pulled out of his car, this is a long story ago, but he was pulled out of his car and beaten, and his car was stolen, and my friend, he doesn't like Trump. And he said that this kid, not this kid, but this man, this 50-year-old man, or however old he was, deserved to be dragged out of his car and beaten, all because he supported Trump. However, nothing on that car said that he supported Trump. All he did was vote for Trump. So, I don't believe that he was attacked because he supported Trump, but because he was white. But I want to finish with one final statement, and that is that these kids did deserve it. They did deserve their punishment. And the victim, I feel very sorry for him. It's gonna take him years to recover, not because of the beating, but because of the scarrings that he has to live with now. That he has to live with the fact that his friend turned against him, and his friend that he idolized is no longer there for him. He turned against him. And it's sad to think about. And to conclude, there's always going to be racism that we live with today. But I think it's time that we start to try to change this. I think it's time that we start to realize that we're all Americans and we need to come together to prosper as a nation. And I'm sorry that if you're from a different country and you're watching this, but this is what's currently happening in America. And I want the Americans to realize, and even all other countries to realize, that the only way to grow is to become one whole unit, because that one whole unit will become an unstoppable force of human nature. And That's the only way that America can grow and prosper, is to if we realize that we're not different, we're Americans. Thank you. I'm the Political Ghoul. Please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.